Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Nashla Dawari, and I will be facilitating today's session, a comprehensive counselor guide to graduation with several experts from the Department of Education, the Division of Career and Adult Education, the Division of Florida Colleges, and the State University System. Before we begin, I want to go over a few housekeeping items with you. If you have questions during today's webinar, please put them in the chat box and we will address them during the live Q&A at the end of this presentation. Closed captioning is provided for this session by clicking the link provided in the chat box. This session will be recorded and will be posted along with any resources shared today on our website, floridashines.org. And finally, we are live on Twitter, so feel free to share your comments and connect with us at FL Shines. Thank you. Let's jump right in and introduce our speakers for today. The first section of this presentation is with Helen Lancashire. Helen is the Secondary School Counseling Consultant at the Bureau of Exceptional Education and Student Services for the Florida Department of Education. Helen is going to share information about high school student progression and graduation requirements. Helen, welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
And thank you. Thank you for inviting me to participate, and I hope all is well with our advisors and school counselors in the field this fall. Now looking at the slide entitled High School Student Progression. Can we advance that, please? Thank you so much. We're going to be going over pertinent information that has come from the legislative session 2016 and other resources and updates that will help you with your advisement of your students as they are planning their future and to transition on after high school. First, to review, what are our standard diploma options? Students may earn a standard diploma by successfully completing one of the following diploma options: a 24-credit standard diploma path, an 18-credit academically challenging curriculum to enhance learning Excel option, an advanced international certificate of education ACE curriculum option, or an international baccalaureate IB diploma option. Now, all students earning a standard diploma must satisfy two additional requirements, and one is that the student must have an unweighted GPA of a 2.0 on a 4.0 scale. Lastly, students must meet certain statewide assessment requirements. Currently, we require passage of the grade 10 ELA or a concordance score. And for mathematics, we require the passage of a Algebra 1 end-of-course assessment or a comparative score. Now, other provisions apply, and I'll address those momentarily. This chart depicts our standard 24 credit requirements for high school graduation pathway. Students must satisfy 4 credits of English language arts, and that could include acceleration program courses, certainly through dual enrollment, advanced placement, and other such things. 4 credits in mathematics to include Algebra 1 and geometry, 3 credits of mathematics, 1 must be biology, 2 of which must have a lab and be equally rigorous. Thirdly, we have the social studies requirements, 3 credits to total, including world history, United States history, United States government, economics with financial literacy. 1 course of the 24 must be in fine and performing arts, speech and debate, or practical arts. There are additional eligible practical arts courses designated in our Career and Technical Education course listing in the course code directory, so you might want to look at those. At the bottom of the course code directory webpage from the Department of Education, you will find a complete PDF file that lists all of those courses available with the practical arts subject code. Students must also have 1 credit of physical education and 8 electives. 1 course within the 24 must be an online course completed via online learning. Now, I want to draw your attention to the asterisks next to science and math. Students who earn an industry certification may substitute for up to 2 math credits, excluding Algebra 1 and Geometry. That would be with 2 separate industry certifications. And 1 industry certification can substitute also for a science credit, except for biology. Now, local school districts determine which industry certifications will qualify for those substitutions. So, as stated, the school or the school district would determine which waivers yield the substitutions. And the eligible certifications that are tied to statewide college credit may be found at the link you see on your screen. The waiver numbers in the course code directory for math and science are listed for your review. Now, with the 2016 legislative session, we had a deletion of the personal fitness competency test effective July 1. So students who complete 2 full seasons of a JV or varsity level sport may obtain a 1 full credit waiver of physical education or through HOPE, or the half credit personal fitness and half credit physical education activity elective waiver. So this is again effective July 1, and it will be in your district student progression plan. Now here's a chart that indicates for you the various course codes, the descriptions, and the options of waiver applied to. So if you have a student attending a school in a district that has chosen the personal fitness / physical education elective, and HOPE, you will see that you apply the first course number, 1500 410, after satisfying 1 season of a JV or varsity sport. When the student completes a 2nd season, then the course number 1500 420 is applied. This has no impact to the student's grade point average. There are other waivers listed. Students participating in band may obtain a half credit of physical education waiver, as well as dance. And so all of this is detailed in the course code directory, and more codes continue. Students who are in ROTC for 2 years may waive both their physical education and a fine arts credit. And again, you can see the various waiver numbers there. Now, the link for the 2017-2018 Florida Course Code Directory is hyperlinked in this presentation. You'll get this one posted. But I really want to highly encourage you to look at the narrative section each year. The current year's narrative section you will see here. You can learn more detailed information about credit recovery courses, the credit acceleration program, the online course requirement, course substitutions, physical education waiver options, which we've just discussed, and information on the world language waiver. Like the personal fitness competency test deletion, we had some revisions to the online course requirement for the 24 credit option. Blended learning course was added so that if a student completes a blended learning course or a course in which a student earns a nationally recognized industry certification in information technology or passage of the information technology exam without enrollment or completion of the course. So you might want to look at this in your student progression plan. We deleted one of the options to satisfy the online course, and that was passage of the online content assessment, which was locally determined by each school district where students would show their competency in locating information and applying technology and so forth. So this blended learning course was added, and then the online content assessment was deleted. This chart shows you the differences between the 24 credit program and the Excel program, the 18 credit. These have been in place for several years now, but just to be certain, this option is available for students taking any level of coursework towards the standard diploma. But the difference mainly is that a physical education course is not required with the 18 credit Excel program. There are 5 less electives in the Excel program as compared to the 24. And the online course requirement is not required. The assessment requirements are the same, and the GPA requirement is the same. As far as the online course, I want to also point out that the online course requirement is not applicable for a student who is on an international baccalaureate or an advanced international certificate of education program of study. Our graduation requirements webpage is really a go-to webpage to refer your parents to, as well as folks that are interested in moving into your district. You'll see a wealth of information on the left, topics that are tied to other parts of our Department of Education's website, to include career and technical education, dual enrollment, frequently asked questions, even military family resources, and certainly information about our Florida standards and many other topics. The link is available for you in the presentation. We recently posted the Haitian Creole version of our academic advisement flyer. We have English and Spanish posted on the graduation requirements page. Now, all of our students are on the same set of graduation requirements and scholar diploma designation requirements. The flyer title indicates that these requirements are applicable for students who enter 9th grade in the 14-15 school year and forward. We've talked a little bit about our statewide assessment requirements for a standard high school diploma, but I wanted to show you that, again, that the students do need to have a grade 10 ELA score, level 3 or higher, or an applicable ACT, SAT concordance score, and then also Algebra 1 end-of-course assessment, or a comparative score on the PERT. Now, the scores are going to remain intact that we presently have. We will talk about that on the next slide a little bit. So the 30% is still a requirement. So the results of the EOC must constitute 30% of a student's final course grade. And in certain cases, there are exemptions. For example, the exemption would be there is a results waiver for students with disabilities, and that is determined by the individual education plan team. The chart that you see is contained in the document called Florida's Statewide Assessments for High School Graduation, and the link to that file is on the bottom of this slide. The department is conducting additional analyses to determine if there are additional assessments that might satisfy the concordance scores to be recommended to the State Board of Education, or revision to existing assessment scores in rule based on this chart. If a student has not passed the grade 10 ELA, as an example, when they're a junior this fall, and they take an ACT or SAT and meet one of these scores that you see in the chart, then they have met their requirements. If in the future a concordant or comparative score changes in any way, or the assessment name changes, then if that student has met the requirement prior to any rule revision, they have met the requirement for graduation purposes and are not going to be required to retake another test to achieve a higher score or even a different assessment. So be sure when the student attains a concordant or comparative score, it is coded properly in the student's academic history field. So as we've discussed a lot, the online course requirement still does prevail. The credit values are always depicted in the course code directory. That is your authority. So if a student completes driver's education, then that's a credit value of a half. They've satisfied the requirement if they've passed the course and completed it online. But a student may not mix and match. So they couldn't take, for example, Algebra 1, first semester in a brick-and-mortar school, then transfer to district virtual or Florida virtual second semester and have met the online course requirement. Yes, they will have met the grad requirement and the credit requirement, but not the online course requirement. Contact your supervisor of school counseling in your district if you're a school counselor, or you may contact me if you have further questions. And as you can see, we've added the word blended to the one of the options via the Information Technology Certification Exam. And as I stated, ACE students, IB, and 18 credit Excel students are not required to satisfy this. The Credit Acceleration Program continues. That is a program where a student can earn high school credit for the subjects listed: algebra, geometry, U.S. history, and biology, without completion of the course or passage of the course. That's a level 3 or higher. Algebra 2 was deleted, and students can also earn high school credit with 2 options that were introduced for the 16-17 school year, and that's one, if a student earns a college credit earning score on an advanced placement exam or college level examination program known as the CLEP. Courses that related to the exams, titles of courses are in the course code directory in the basic 9 through 12 and adult section. So students do have many opportunities to earn high school and college credit through advanced placement, dual enrollment, international baccalaureate, advanced international certificate of education, diploma program, and industry certification. And as counselors and advisors, you are in the unique position to use key data points to help your students to get into the most appropriate rigorous courses to meet their post-secondary goals. And some of the data sources are listed here, including the Florida Standards Assessment, English Language Arts Assessment, AP Potential, the PERT, the Algebra 1 and course assessment, and then, of course, a student's grade history. Dual enrollment is one of those acceleration options, and we just wanted to mention that there's been a 32% increase in the number of students taking at least one course from dual enrollment in a 5-year period from 2011 to 2016. All of our students in grades 6 through 12 who meet certain eligibility requirements must be allowed to participate in dual enrollment. There are college credit earning dual enrollment courses where students must have a 3.0 unweighted GPA and a minimum score on a common placement test. And then there's also career dual enrollment courses that help that student meet their future goals in career and technical areas. Students may not be scheduled into a dual enrollment course if they're scheduled to graduate prior to the completion of the dual enrollment course itself. The resources that you see linked below are also on the graduation requirements webpage. Those are the frequently asked questions, as well as the high school subject area equivalency list. Information is available to support today's webinar found in the Florida Counseling for Future Education Handbook. There is a section in the very back that is titled High School Special Case Equivalencies, and when you're working with transfer student evaluation records, please pay close attention to this section. If you want to know what courses actually satisfy academic core for first time in college admissions purposes, you will find a complete listing as well as detailed information about the world language requirements listed there. And then lastly, the career and technical contact information is also available. Here you will see our website to CPOMS, or otherwise known as the Florida Standards website. You will find course descriptions, access to the course code directory. When you have parents or anyone interested in what is actually contained in a particular course, particularly our folks new to Florida that transfer in, you can point them to this website, cpoms.org. We hope that this helps you. So I wanted to mention to you that the Florida Students Achieve website is a joint project between the Florida Education Foundation and the Florida Department of Education. Families at the site can find resources to help them choose the best schools for their children and to understand what things they should be learning. And then also how to work with their child's teachers to ensure the best possible outcomes. There are links at the bottom of the web page which you can barely see that this is that pertain to all levels of education. And what we've done here is provided a link to the parent guide to support content standards for high school. And within the guide, there are grade-specific recommendations in working with their, to help the parent understand the standards of learning at each grade level. There's also links on the high school page at FloridaStudentsAchieve.org that links families to the accelerated programs for our students, as well as the career and technical programs, and to viable post-secondary options. So you might want to consider, if you're a school counselor, as to reviewing this page and maybe including it into your guidance resources in your school's website. So as a reminder too, this webpage, FloridaStudents.org, is for students and families and interested community members. Resources and tutorials to support the Florida standards in all of the academic core areas listed here are available, and they're continually adding to this website. But it also has the link to the SAT practice website, which you'll see listed up at the top. I want to thank you for your time and submit your questions. My email is available here, as well as our Student Support Services office phone number. Thank you for your attention today, and best wishes this fall.
Thank you, Helen. We appreciate your presentation today. Certainly understanding graduation requirements and keeping students on track for graduation is one of the first steps in this transition from high school to post-secondary. We have great questions coming in already. I want to remind you, like Helen said, if you have questions for her today, please drop them in the Ask a Question box, and she'll be with us at the end of the session answering them. Next, we are thrilled to have Heather Conley with us to talk about Florida's technical centers and colleges as pathways to degrees and careers. Heather currently works with the Division of Career and Adult Education at the Florida Department of Education. Heather, thank you for being with us today.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Nashla. It is a pleasure to be with you to discuss post-secondary opportunities available in school districts, perhaps in your own or in a neighboring district. My presentation will briefly highlight occupational data and education levels required for such careers. I will share an example of a pathway program and opportunities this might present for the students you serve. I will also focus a little on affordability, admissions, student benefits, and then we'll wrap up with industry certification attainment as an exit point to high-wage, high-skill, high-demand careers, or as an entry point to continued study at the associate degree level. So to put this within the context, Florida School District Technical Centers and Colleges are just one part of Florida's public post-secondary superhighway. And as you can see from this illustration and the highway metaphor, there are multiple entry points and exit points with seamless articulation mechanisms built in to allow student progression based on their interests and the needs of Florida's economy. Florida's 49 technical centers and colleges offer post-secondary career and technical programs that train for occupations that are in demand by the state and regional economy. These are certificate programs that range from healthcare to information technology to aviation to manufacturing. The certificate programs that are offered are not developed in isolation here in sunny Tallahassee, but rather developed locally in response to the regional marketplace. Operating behind the scenes are strong partnerships consisting of the local economic development entity, the local workforce development board, and the private and public post-secondary institutions helping our students connect with the current and emerging careers. These targeted program offerings are bolstered by national and state occupational forecasts that compel us to think differently about the traditional college advising narrative, one that considers viability of job prospects at completion as well as an opportunity for advanced study at the associate degree level and or the baccalaureate degree level and beyond. An analysis from Georgetown University's Center on Education and the Workforce indicates that within 2 years, 65% of all jobs in Florida will require some level of post-secondary education beyond high school. As such, career certificates are an important first credential step on the post-secondary ladder upon earning the high school diploma. When we turn our attention to data related to Florida's growth occupations, it is forecast that 58% of Florida's 50 fastest growing occupations will require a certificate or an associate degree. Career certificates, also known as post-secondary adult vocational or PSAV, can be earned in our district technical centers and colleges or at many state colleges. The length of program time can vary from 6 months to 2 years. So taking a little deeper dive, I promise there will not be a quiz on this later, we have provided a snapshot of these occupations, and this information is available through the Labor Market Statistics Center at the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. Early each year, they release the next set of data projections. So the next data release will be in fall, January of this coming year, and those projections will be 2017 to 2025. So they're always just 1 year behind on the projections. This chart details the projected job growth through 2024, the median hourly wage associated with these growth occupations, and the level of education necessary to become employed in this field on the right-hand side. While there are just a few low-skilled jobs that may not require a high school diploma, there is only one for which a high school diploma is required, and the majority of these positions, 58% of them, require post-secondary education at the certificate or degree level. Are you interested in learning about the fastest growing occupations specific to your region? Well, in addition to these statewide lists, you can even build your own local report, like I just showed, that details the fastest growing occupations in your workforce region, and it'll detail the level of education required in order to be employed. This makes an excellent resource you can provide to students and parents to better inform them as they make decisions about what to do after high school graduation. So let's take a look at an example of what an actual career pathway looks like with various education levels represented. This example illustrates nursing and all of the stackable credentials associated with the profession. As you can see, the pathway begins on the left side and identifies the entry point of the nursing profession, which is called Licensed Practical Nurse, or LPN. Students must complete an approved certificate program of 1,350 hours and pass the state licensure examination. The LPN certificate program is available in our district technical centers and colleges. Upon completion, students may exit and enter the workforce or progress along the pathway and move on to the next level of study, the associate's degree in nursing, available in the Florida college system. At this point, Students may exit with their degree and enter the workforce or continue on to the next level of study at the baccalaureate degree level. Here's another view of the nursing pathway, which includes the nursing assistant. The advantage of building career certificate programs into a larger occupational pathway is that students can begin work in the profession and earn while learning about the next level, a little at a time, without taking on so much debt. Here is another vantage point I want to share that couples certificate training programs with industry certification attainment or licensure attainment and the wages associated with these. Many students and parents are not aware of the opportunities available through district technical centers and colleges. Please consider advising students who might be interested in these programs to preview them as a high school student through dual enrollment. Your school district likely has a dual enrollment articulation agreement with the local technical center or college. If you are uncertain, please reach out to your district career and technical education or CTE director who can provide that information to you. Just like our public colleges and universities, certificate programs and technical centers are considered an excellent value relative to other states. At $2.33 per clock hour, a 600-hour program would be approximately $1,400 for residents plus institutional fees. Please note that district tech centers and colleges are statutorily permitted to assess 5% below or above the standard rate identified in statute. In addition, residency determinations are made, and students who are not otherwise statutorily exempt pay out-of-state fees. Since these are occupational training programs, students may need to purchase tools or uniforms, pay for a background check, pay for their licensure examinations or the industry certification examinations, if applicable. Just like degree programs, many certificate programs qualify for federal financial assistance in the form of a Pell Grant, federal work study, as well as veterans' educational benefits. State and local scholarships are also available to students who qualify. Florida's district technical centers and colleges are open access institutions as there is no admissions test requirement. Each institution has its own admissions and registration process, but most generally require meeting with a counselor/advisor, attending a program orientation to get a thorough understanding of what is required to successfully graduate from the program and become employed and or move on to advanced study at the Associate in Science degree level. In some cases, there will be program exit requirements for students who do not meet an exemption in Florida statute. Again, all of this information is provided during the registration process. These student-centered institutions cater to the needs of their community and provide a host of other benefits. They operate year-round, offer day, evening, and some weekend courses. They provide extensive career advisement and placement. Each institution is accredited by the Council on Occupational Education, or COE, and some hold an additional accreditation through the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, known as SACS. Many of the individual certificate programs are also accredited through the respective national association or organization representing the occupation. You will recall the post-secondary superhighway slide that I shared earlier with its multiple entry points and exit points, and as such, I want to highlight two more student benefits that may serve as either an off-ramp or an on-ramp depending on the needs of the individual student. These are apprenticeship and industry certifications. We have over 11,000 apprentices in about 200 registered apprenticeship programs in the state of Florida. There are several grants from the Department of Labor that are being used to enhance apprenticeship in Florida, with the focus being on IT, healthcare, manufacturing, and construction trades. So please contact our office at that information there, and there's a regional apprenticeship person in each part of the state that can give you all kind of details about the apprenticeship programs offered. Now, the benefit of industry certification and or licensure acquisition cannot be underscored enough. They are the standard bearer used to verify predetermined knowledge, skills, and abilities pertaining to a very specific subject matter and are rapidly becoming required to gain entry into the workplace along with traditional post-secondary training. A large majority of certificate programs available in tech centers and colleges prepare students to successfully pass these rigorous industry certifications, and as such, students can add these to their portfolio if looking for immediate employment after graduation. In this scenario, the student might be exiting the pathway with an additional credential that will serve them well with their employment endeavors. However, some students may decide to pursue advanced study at the associate degree level, as such many technical centers have local articulation agreements with their local state college to seamlessly grant advanced standing into the corresponding degree program without a duplication in technical coursework. In addition, another benefit associated with earning an industry certification is that it might be part of a statewide articulation agreement that guarantees a minimum number of credits into a corresponding Associate of Science, AS, or Associate of Applied Science, AAS degree. So here's another example of an on-ramp for the student. The illustration above shows how one certification articulates different articulated credits into different AS, AAS programs as courses offered in the programs are different, covering different materials. So one offers 6 articulated credits and the other offers 3. Another great benefit I want to highlight is the opportunity for students to be a part of a post-secondary career and technical student organization known as CTSOs. From the Future Business Leaders of America to the Health Occupation Students of America, these time-honored student leadership organizations allow post-secondary students to compete in local, state, and national competitive events related to their field of study. They can win scholarships, network with their peers, and with employers to build leadership skills that will serve them well regardless of their future pathway. Finally, an opportunity I'd like to share with you today in the area of professional development for career and technical education teachers specifically is with the Perkins PDI, or Professional Development Institute. The Perkins PDI can reimburse career and technical education teachers for industry certification exams in the programs they teach, including the time spent with a facilitated group study or self-study towards that exam. Hundreds of Florida teachers each year receive these mini-grants. Please visit www.perkinspdi.org for more information. So I want to thank you all for joining this presentation today, and I hope you can better see how career certificates available in district technical centers and colleges are an important option available in Florida's public post-secondary superhighway. On our division webpage, you can find additional information on career and technical education and apprenticeship programs, plus links to district post-secondary institutions in Florida. So thank you, and have a great day.
Heather, thank you so much for highlighting the superhighway. I love that metaphor to illustrate all of the available post-secondary education options in Florida and the many roads that one can take towards a career. So once again, thank you. And as a reminder to our audience, please send us any questions you have for Heather, and she'll be back with us at the end of the session to answer them. Next, we are honored to have Dr. Amy Albee-Levine. She is the Director of Academic and Workforce Programs in the Division of Florida Colleges. Dr. Albee-Levine is going to share information about Florida's colleges and the best resources for advising students who are looking into their post-secondary options. Dr. Albee-Levine, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to begin by talking about the mission of the Florida College System and emphasize that it is an access point for students through its 2+2 articulation agreement with the state university system and also through its workforce education programs. We have a multitude of programs, as Ms. Conley just discussed, on the workforce side, and also we have a significant enrollment in the Associated Arts program, which is the direct access point for students to get to the university. This slide talks about what happened to the 2014-15 graduates in Florida's high schools. If you look at this, you will see that over 63% of the students that graduate in 14-15 began the following year in a Florida College System institution, and 32% began in the FUS and on down. This next slide, I wanted to emphasize key factors to keep in mind when advising dual enrollment students and preparing them to enter the Florida College System. First is to keep in mind findmycollegemajor.org, which is a tool that helps students explore careers and major options that align and that are available in their local area. Also, ensuring students select a major or are aware of the 8 meta majors and the associated gateway courses. Mathematics requirements do differ based on selected meta majors, and I'm going to discuss these further in the presentation. Third, I want to mention general education core requirements. It's important to make sure students are aware of the general education core requirements when selecting courses, and also common prerequisites for their selected program of study. Providing students with information on all these factors will help students reach their goals quicker while reducing the amount of excess credit students take on and potential financial burden. I'm going to discuss all these factors in more detail. The first is findmycollegemajor.org. Findmycollegemajor.org is a web-based application that allows all Floridians to search by zip code for certificates and degree programs available in their local area. FindMyCollegeMajor.org also provides students information on tuition and fees, average time to degree completion, and workforce and average wage outcomes for graduates of selected programs. Once an undecided student identifies career areas of interest on FindMyCollegeMajor.org, they can select a major or meta major that aligns with their field of interest. Meta major gateway courses. This is another factor to keep in mind. When considering dual enrollment student advisement, it's important that students understand the importance of selecting a major or a meta major if they are unsure what major they want to go into. This is important, again, because gateway courses vary according to selected majors and meta majors. You can see on the slide we have the 8 meta majors that are described in statute. We have STEM, health sciences, industry, manufacturing, construction, business, education, social and behavioral sciences and human services, public safety, and arts, humanities, communication, and design. When it comes to gateway courses, English composition, typically referred to as E&C 1101, is the gateway courses for all majors and meta major academic pathways. The gateway courses for mathematics are aligned with the meta major academic pathways. The Math Gateway course for business is college algebra or elementary statistics. The Math Gateway course for STEM is college algebra. And the Math Gateway course for all other meta major academic pathways can be college algebra, statistics, or liberal arts math 1 or liberal arts math 2. It's also important to note that gateway courses can count towards a student's required general education core requirements, and students should select a major or meta major prior to selecting their math gen ed core requirements. Common prerequisite requirements. Many programs of study require the completion of common prerequisites or specific courses required before enrolling in the actual program of study. The number of common prerequisites required differs by program, and the common prerequisite manual can be found at the site you see on your screen. Common prerequisites often overlap with general education core courses or general education graduation requirements, so it's important to keep those in mind when advising students on what dual enrollment courses to take. General education core requirements. Students must complete a minimum of 1 course from each of the 5 core subject areas in general education. They are communications, humanities, mathematics, natural sciences, and social sciences. When selecting a mathematics course to complete the general education core requirement, students are strongly encouraged to consider their major or meta major and the associated gateway courses in mathematics. The next slide will explain majors, meta-majors, and gateway courses. Excuse me, I missed that slide there. This slide here, we're going to move on. This slide talks about our 2+2 articulation agreements that we have statewide. Once a student selects a major and identifies a Florida public college or university to attend, students should meet with an advisor at that institution to ensure their advising plans align with the baccalaureate program requirements. And this slide talks about or emphasizes the various partnerships that we have in the state between our colleges and SUS institutions. All 28 of our institutions have an agreement with one of the SUS institutions in the state. This slide provides my contact information should you be interested. You can also contact my colleague, Janae Chandler. We can both be found in the directory, but should you have any questions, I'll be back on later.
Amy, thank you so much for sharing all of those resources with us today. I keep thinking of meta-majors, such a critical tool, not only to learn more about a group of majors in a pathway, but also to make sure that students are on track with their courses. So thank you for sharing that information. Next, I would like to introduce Linda Page. Linda is the Director of Articulation for the State University System, and she's going to share with us the highlights of preparing for admissions into a state university, the core SUS requirements, and a variety of resources you can use to advise your students. Linda, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I apologize up front about how I sound because I've been fighting a cold. And hopefully I won't be hacking too much on this telephone call. I'll try my best to not make it too uncomfortable for the group. Today I'll be focusing primarily on first time in college admission to our universities, but I do want to acknowledge, as indicated by Dr. Albie Levine, the strong 2+2 articulation between the Florida college system and the state university system. The statewide articulation agreement, along with the many targeted articulation agreements between specific institutions, open the door to a university degree. The Board of Governors sets the minimum admission standards for the state universities. Primarily because of limited space, universities generally admit students with higher standards than those that are the minimums that are listed below on this slide. The board regulation includes basic standards for expected college preparatory curriculum, grade point average, and test scores. Universities may consider other factors in admission, including but not limited to academic course rigor, the continuing taking of academically challenging coursework where possible, co-curricular involvement, service, and more. In the college preparatory curriculum, that the students are required to have 18 units of high school credit, that is to prepare them for university admission. What we call core SUS or state university system requirements includes designated English, math, natural science, social science, and world language requirements. Those are the minimum requirements. And then there's two other courses that are electives that many of the students just continue to provide those more academically rigorous courses, unless they're specifically looking at like a major in music, or not that music's not rigorous, but that would be a very specified elective coursework. Besides the counseling handbook, counselors, students, and parents are able to find out whether or not a course applies as a core course or an elective course towards admission by going to the Bright Futures course table that's at the link provided here. Just a notice about transcripts. Please be sure to emphasize to students, if possible, that high school transcripts should be sent to state universities' admission offices through the faster or speedy electronic process in order to ensure the quickest evaluation. Those students that are taking dual enrollment should have their transcripts from their post-secondary institution also sent via faster or speedy. It just helps with being able to evaluate it more efficiently without having to enter, by receiving a paper PDF document, for example, and having to enter it electronically. It saves time. In looking at minimum test score and grade point averages, the Board of Governors regulation for the first time in college degree-seeking students was amended over this past summer. And what has happened is that we are now trying to avoid the confusion between having an admissions minimum test scores and the college placement minimum test scores. They are one and the same. So the Board of Governors has aligned the minimum test scores with the minimum requirements required for college level placement. These are baseline minimums. And obviously the average student is much higher than that for the admission. Again, this is just a warning about the minimum requirements. Those that meet the minimum are eligible, but state universities are competitive. So the average or the middle 50% of students that are admitted have much higher test scores. And you'll see that the minimum grade point average is at 2.5. A change for Talented 20 has been the expectation that the student not only is in the top 20% of their high school and took the appropriate college prep courses and have taken the SAT or ACT, but that they are meeting the minimum college level math, reading, and writing placement test equivalencies. So that's new, the expectation that they are actually college level in all of those areas. Many of you attend our state university system admission tour events that our directors provide for high school and middle school counselors in early fall, late summer. And we have tentative dates for fall 2018. It looks like it's very tentative because it's so open on this slide. But we anticipate, we're pretty firm that the University of South Florida is August 31st, so we're going south first. So the 31st is USF, the 30th is Florida Gulf Coast. What we're not sure is whether or not FIU or FAU between the 28th and 29th date. So that'll come, but at least you can tentatively get those dates down on your calendars. And then the second week, listed, starting with September 12th, would again start at FSU, Panama City, going to UNF to UCF, ending on the 14th. Please note at the bottom that if you want to make sure that you are invited to it, because what we do is use the Eventbrite system based on the counselors that have expressed interest in knowing about the tour or who have attended before, if we have your email, you get the invitation. So if you had somebody else sign you up, you probably don't have an email in our system. So please be sure to just drop an email to admissionstour@flbog.edu, and we'll make sure that it's in a file so that when we send out invitations, probably late spring, early summer, to get you to start registering for the fall, that you're going to be able to receive that invitation. This just is a page with links of some resources that might assist you in advising. There's many, many more. You know, one of the things that Dr. Avi Levine had mentioned was the findyourcollegemajor.org, and it's a great tool. I would caution you, though, that it doesn't have university or state or private university information on it. It is a good tool for finding the Florida colleges and getting students started, meta majors and their baccalaureates. But if you're expecting to find a state university through it, it won't show up. And then finally, I just wanted to mention one of the things that is offered to the students with disabilities that attend state universities, if they have, did I do that? That have financial need, they can apply for a scholarship. It's the Johnson Scholarship that is through the state university system and the Johnson Scholarship Foundation. The link to the application is there. If you have seniors that are students with disabilities that will be attending as a freshman to a state university, encourage them to consider filling out the application. They would send it to the institution that they're applying to, like they would send it to Florida Gulf Coast or FAMU, or both if they don't know which one yet, so that they can make sure that they're in the loop to be considered for a scholarship. And this is my information and contact information at the Board of Governors office. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Linda, for sharing those highlights of admissions requirements into the state university system. We appreciate it, and we are looking forward to the 2018 already admissions tour next fall. So thank you. While our speakers are getting ready for our question and answer session, I want to remind everyone that the recording for this webinar and a copy of the presentation with all of the links will be available on floridashines.org after the presentation. So at this time, I want to invite you to send your questions in, and we will begin with the Q&A with our speakers. So Helen, the first question we have is actually for you. And the question is related to end-of-course assessments. And so our audience is asking if you could address out-of-state students in EOCs. If the student comes in with credit from a class but no state EOC, do they need to take those end-of-course assessments?
Absolutely not. Our section 1003.4282, which is our standard diploma graduation requirements, contains a provision for transfer students for end-of-course assessment requirements. If a student transfers in, as an example, with Biology 1 high school credit at face value, it's accepted per the district's policies, then the credit is earned. The grade stands and is recorded with the appropriate Florida course code ID number. The student would not have to take the Biology 1 end-of-course assessment unless they wish to qualify for our Florida Scholar Diploma designation.
Thank you, Helen. We will also send that information over to them. Linda, the next question is for you, and it is related to FAFSA transcripts. So the question states, some colleges are no longer accepting the FAFSA transcripts. How do you determine which universities are still accepting those transcripts?
We have the information is on our matrix, which is on our admissions page. I can provide the link, or if our website is, I can't remember if my contact information had the website address. It's www.flbog.edu, and just search admissions tour. The matrix is posted. It has either the FAFSA or the SPEDY number. So the institutions accept it electronically. If there's issues with a university not accepting it, I'd like to know so that we can figure out what's going on, because they are all wanting it. So I'm not sure what the glitch might be.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Helen, there is another question for you related to graduation requirements, and they want to know where they can find the specifics about the world language waiver.
Right. Okay. Well, we have the world language waiver is in the Florida Course Code directory. There's a course number that is added to the record if the district determines the student is proficient at the second high school level or higher. They can record that in the record. We have information detailed in, it's called High School Course Information section of the narrative in the Florida Course Code directory. There was a link in the slide to that, but that's available again from the Florida Department of Education's website. We also have, for admissions purposes, even more detailed information in the appendix item at the end of the Florida Counseling for Future Education handbook in the area called High School Courses that Satisfy Course Distribution Requirements.
Thank you, Helen. Linda, I think the next question is for you related to the Talented 20 program. How will those new College Ready scores be evaluated for the Talented 20 submission? It's a multi-question, if you will. So the next part of the question is, will the system pull from the student's transcript, or will the districts have to send additional information, and where can we find more information about this new component?
The details really haven't been determined yet as far as how it will happen, because right now the Department of Education handles a lot of the filtering. So that's to come. Luckily, we have a half a year to 6 months to try to figure it out. I know it's really sooner than that because of trying to figure it out technically. But the information that it's in the first time in college degree-seeking admissions regulation, which is found on our website. It's on www.flbog.edu. And if you go to, up at the top, to the word board, as in Board of Governors, there's a drop-down menu, click on regulations, and it's Regulation 6.002, and it's discussed in the Talented 20 section. Now, it doesn't have the scores because it's referring to the college placement test scores, which are both in Florida College, Florida Rule, and Board of Governors regulation. It's the same score in both rule and regulation. But I can send information to wherever I'm directed to figure out, you know, how to give people links on the information.
Absolutely, Linda. Any additional info or links we can certainly share with our attendees for today after this session, and we can follow up individually with the attendee who asked the question as well. Heather, I believe the next question is for you, and it is related to financial aid. And so can you remind us where students can go to learn more about scholarship and financial aid options for CTE programs?
I would recommend looking directly at the websites for the particular institution you're interested, because I know in the mycareershines.org tool, which I hope everyone listening is using, there are thousands of scholarships you can search, but if you are looking particularly for the ones offered at our district technical centers and colleges, I would recommend you start on their website, since my division does not have any kind of clearinghouse tool to offer at present. On our division webpage, we do have an easy one page that has the links to all of the district, those 49 that I showed you, but I apologize that I don't have like a clearinghouse tool for that. So please contact whichever ones locally you're most interested in, or follow up with me and I will try to put you in touch with the right people.
This is Amy from the colleges. On our website, floridacollegesystem.com, there's a section on financial aid, and if you click on that, it will take you to the financial aid office for each of the 28 Florida College System institutions. That's floridacollegesystem.com.
Thank you both. Certainly great places to start. Helen, the next question is related back to the world language waiver. And the question is, does the world language waiver also satisfy the Florida Bright Futures 2-year language requirement?
Absolutely. Yes, it does.
Wonderful.
If the course number is applied, it will also meet the requirement for FAS or FMS.
Thank you. And Linda, related to SUS admission, how would you advise a student desiring admission to one of the schools in the SUS who is exploring the option of early graduation?
I would first, if it's a specific student, I would talk to them about which institution or institutions they're interested in attending, and then have a conversation directly with the admission director of that particular university. It may depend upon the major or, what the student is bringing forward as far as the coursework. One thing they do need to keep in mind is that they are competing with other students for a spot. And the reality is if they're coming in with 18 credits, even if it includes 2 accelerated, AP courses, they're competing against students that sometimes bring in, quite frankly, 23, 26 academic or more academic credits. And it's hard when you have limited enrollment to try to, sort of like comparing apples and oranges. So the best bet is to have a conversation with the institution themselves.
Great. Certainly a good place to start, and thinking of everybody's situation being different. So thank you, Linda. Amy, the last question we have coming in is for you, and it is related to meta majors. Can you tell us again where we can learn more about the gateway courses required for academic pathways and meta majors?
Certainly. You can go on to our website, floridacollegesystem.com, and there is a section on meta majors. Now, in rule is where it is specifically listed that the specific math courses are aligned to the designated meta majors. And so one thing to keep in mind is there are 8 meta majors, there are 4 gateway courses in math, and the most important thing to keep in mind is for STEM, The gateway course that students must take if they want to go into a STEM major is college algebra, typically Mac 1105. And if a student wants to go into business, it is either Mac 1105 or the statistics course, which is typically STA 2023 in the college and university system. For the other meta majors, the other 6, they can choose from those 2 or choose one of the other 2 courses that are listed as gateway courses, which is Finite Mathematics 1, typically MGF 1106, and Finite Mathematics 2, MGF 1107. So FloridaCollegeSystem.com has information on there. It's called Meet Major. If you want to go in there, I could also, through the FLEC, send information so it can reach everyone and where exactly they can go to get information on meta majors and those gateway courses.
Absolutely. We can certainly share that with our audience for today. So this concludes our question and answer session for the webinar. I want to thank our speakers today for taking the time to join us and share such a wealth of resources across the state in all the different areas and options that students have to transition from high school to post-secondary. As a reminder, the recorded session, along with any materials, the PowerPoints, and the links shared today will be posted on our website at floridashines.org. If you would like to learn more about advising students for academic success in workforce programs in the Florida College System, join us next at 4 and 5 o'clock Eastern this afternoon. You can sign up for this and several other webinars that are part of Virtual College Week at www.virtualcollegeweek.org. Thank you very much and have a great day.